cold wind blew across the dusty path as the alien girl walked slowly, barefoot and trembling. Her clothes were torn, her silver hair dirty with ash. Her eyes, once bright, were now dull, filled with fear and hunger. She didn't know where she was anymore. She only knew she had to keep moving, away from the mines, away from the pain. Every step hurt. Her legs were weak. Her thin hands clutched a small metal tag around her neck. It was the only thing she had, a slave tag. One that reminded everyone what she used to be, what she still was, to some. She reached the edge of the human settlement just as the sun started to set behind the tall trees. It was a quiet village, hidden deep inside the forest. Small houses made of metal and wood, smoke rising from chimneys, laughter of children playing. It felt like a different world, a safe world. But when she stepped closer, people saw her, and everything changed. Doors slammed shut, windows closed fast. A mother pulled her child behind her. A man shouted, "Go away! We don't want trouble!" Another threw a stone at her feet. "Filthy alien!" She didn't speak. She couldn't. Her throat was dry, her body shaking. She just stood there, silent, like a ghost. Then, two small girls stepped forward. They were twins, about 9 or 10 years old, pale skin, long dark hair, and bright golden eyes that didn't look scared, only curious. They stood in front of her, while the others stayed far behind. "She looks sad," one twin whispered. "She looks lost," the other said. The alien girl tried to turn away. She didn't want more stones, more hate, but one of the twins gently grabbed her hand. "You don't have to run," the twin said. "You need a home," the other added softly. "And we need a bride for our father." The alien girl blinked. She didn't understand. Bride? What did that mean? Why were these girls so calm? A man nearby shouted, "Girls, get back here!" But the twins didn't move. "She's not dangerous," one said. "She's broken," the other said. "Like Daddy." The alien girl finally spoke, her voice a whisper. I can leave." But the twins shook their heads. "No, come with us," one said. "We have food," the other smiled. "And you'll be safe." The alien girl hesitated. Her feet wanted to run. Her heart said don't trust, but something in the twins' eyes. It wasn't pity. It wasn't fear. It was something warmer. The villagers only watched as the strange trio walked away, two human children holding the hand of a dirty alien girl with hollow eyes. They walked past the edge of the settlement, into the woods. The alien girl didn't ask where they were going. She just kept walking with them, because for the first time, no one was yelling at her. No one was hitting her. And for the first time in years, someone was holding her hand. But deep in the forest, behind the shadows and trees, something else was watching. Something tall, something silent, something waiting. The forest grew darker with every step. The alien girl's legs were tired, but she didn't speak. The twin girls moved ahead without fear, their small hands still holding hers tightly. Birds cried overhead. Leaves rustled, but the path was clear, as if the forest had made way just for them. They crossed a small wooden bridge. Below it, a river whispered softly. Trees stood like silent guards around them. The alien girl looked back once, but the village had already disappeared behind the trees. "Are you hungry?" one of the twins asked. The girl nodded. "We have soup," the other said, smiling, "and warm bread." The alien girl didn't remember the last time she had soup, or a smile. Soon the trees opened up to a clearing. In the middle stood an old house, tall, strange, but beautiful in a quiet way. Its roof was curved like the wings of a bird. The door was carved with symbols she didn't know. Vines crept up its walls and smoke gently rose from the chimney. It looked alive. The twins pulled her toward it. Inside, the house was warm. The smell of herbs and firewood filled the air. A pot was boiling on the stove. Blankets were folded neatly on the floor. Books lined the shelves. It felt safe, safer than anywhere she'd ever known. "Sit," one twin said, pointing to a chair. "We'll get food," said the other. The alien girl sat, her hands still shaking. Was this real? Was this a trap? Then she heard footsteps, heavy, slow, calm. A tall man stepped into the room. His eyes were golden, just like the twins. His face was scarred, jaw strong, hair streaked with silver. He didn't speak. He just looked at her. Her body froze. He didn't look angry, but he didn't smile either. "Daddy," one twin said, handing him a bowl of soup. "This is her." "She needs a home," the other added. "And you need a bride." The man paused. He glanced at the alien girl, then at the twins. Hen. He turned and walked away, disappearing into another room. Silence. The girl looked confused. "A bride?" she whispered. The twins sat beside her. "Our father is lonely," one explained. "He lost someone, long ago," the other said. "Since then, he doesn't talk much. He doesn't laugh. He just survives." The alien girl's eyes dropped to the bowl of soup in front of her. Steam rose gently from it. It smelled like kindness. It smelled like home. "But why me?" she asked. "Because," one twin said softly, "you're lonely too." The other nodded. "You don't belong to the world out there. And neither do we." The alien girl took a spoonful of soup. It burned her tongue, but she smiled anyway. A real smile. Small, but real. She didn't know if she was ready to be someone's bride. She didn't even know if she was safe. But she knew one thing. She wasn't outside in the cold anymore. The fire crackled behind her. The twins began humming a lullaby. And in a room down the hallway, the man stood silently, looking at an old photo on the wall. His eyes, for the first time in years, began to water. He didn't know who she was, but somehow, she reminded him of something he thought he'd lost. Hope. The alien girl woke up to soft humming. She was wrapped in a thick blanket, lying on a small bed near the fireplace. The smell of fresh bread floated through the air. Morning light slipped through the wooden window slats, painting golden stripes across the floor. She blinked, confused. For a moment, she didn't know where she was. Then it came back. The twins, the strange offer, the quiet man. She sat up slowly. Her body still hurt, but the warmth of the house was gentle. It didn't feel like the mines or the streets or the camps where she had once begged for food. This place felt like a memory she never had. "You're awake," said one of the twins, entering the room with a smile. "We saved a piece of bread for you," said the other, holding out a small wooden plate. The girl took it carefully, whispering, "Thank you." She ate slowly, watching the fire flicker, but something still made her uneasy. "Where is your father?" she asked. "He's in the basement," one twin said. "He likes to be alone in the mornings," the other added. The girl stood, her bare feet soft against the wooden floor. "Can I see him?" The twins exchanged a look. Then one of them nodded. "He won't hurt you," she said. "He doesn't hurt anyone," the other smiled. "Not anymore." Not anymore. They led her down a narrow hallway. At the end was a thick door made of dark metal. One twin knocked twice, and without a sound it opened. The girl followed them inside. The basement wasn't dark and scary like she expected. It was wide, clean, and full of old things. Maps on the wall, shelves of tools, a table with strange glowing crystals, and in the corner, the man. He was sitting at the table, sharpening a long silver blade. His golden eyes looked up as they entered. He didn't speak. The girl stepped closer, her voice soft. I wanted to say thank you for letting me stay." The man didn't respond, but his eyes were watching her carefully, not with fear, not with anger, just silence. Then he stood. He walked to the far wall and pulled down a curtain. Behind it was a display of weapons, swords, knives, blasters, some human, some alien, some she didn't even recognize. Her breath caught. "You were a soldier," she whispered. The man nodded once. The twins spoke in unison. He was a protector. Once. Then he lost someone important. The girl turned. "Who?" "Our mother." The silence grew heavy. The man finally spoke, his voice deep but calm. "I don't bring strangers here." The girl lowered her eyes. Then why me? Because, he said, pausing, you didn't beg to stay. The girl blinked. I thought you would send me away. He looked at her with strange softness. I almost did. He turned back to the weapons and hung the silver blade on the wall, then walked past her without another word, disappearing up the stairs. She stood frozen. One of the twins touched her hand. He's not angry. He's just healing. The girl looked around the room again, at the crystals, the weapons, the silence, and something inside her whispered, so am I. She wasn't ready to belong. But this house, this strange, quiet house in the woods, it was the first place that didn't demand anything from her. Not chains, not obedience, not pain, just time, and maybe, one day, trust. The days passed quietly. The alien girl didn't ask questions. She helped the twins clean the house, gather berries, and cook simple meals. She didn't know what her place was, but no one pushed her to speak. That alone made her stay. The man said almost nothing. He ate in silence. He worked alone in the basement. Sometimes he vanished into the woods with nothing but a worn leather bag and came back long after sunset. His eyes always scanned the trees before entering the house, like he expected someone or something to follow him. The girl watched him carefully. There was something strange about him. Not dangerous, but heavy, like he carried something invisible on his back, a memory or a curse. One evening, after the twins had gone to sleep, she found herself standing outside his basement door. She hesitated, then knocked softly. No answer. She opened the door. He was there, sitting on the floor. A fire crackled in a small pit. He held a thin metal box in his hands. When he looked up, he didn't seem surprised to see her. I'm sorry, she whispered, stepping inside. I just wanted to understand. The man didn't speak right away. He motioned for her to sit. She did, across from him, her eyes on the box. Do you know what this is? He asked, voice low. She shook her head. He opened it. Inside was a necklace. Simple, worn. A tiny ring hung from the chain, too small for his fingers. My wife's, he said. The girl's throat tightened. She died in a fire, he continued. Our village was attacked. She hid the girls, but she didn't make it out. The alien girl lowered her eyes. I'm sorry. I couldn't save her, he said. The silence between them was deep, but not cold. You fight in a war? She asked carefully. He nodded. Many, before and after that one. She looked around. The weapons, they're not just for show. No, he said. I was a hunter, then a soldier, then something worse. She didn't ask what that meant, but he looked at her then, truly looked. You know what it's like, don't you? To survive something and still carry it. Her eyes welled with tears. She nodded. I was taken when I was small, she said, voice shaking. Used in the mines. Beaten when I slowed down. Chained when I cried. He didn't move, but she saw his jaw tighten. Sometimes, she said softly, I still wake up and think I'm there. I still feel the chains. The man reached into the fire with metal tongs and lifted a glowing stone. He dropped it into a bowl of water beside him. Steam rose instantly. You'll never forget, he said, but you can choose what comes next. She looked at him. And what comes next for me? He stared into the flames. That, he said, is something only you can decide. She stayed a while longer, both of them silent beside the fire. No promises, no lies, just pain, and a strange kind of peace. When she returned upstairs, the twins were waiting. Did he tell you? One whispered. Did you see the box? Asked the other. She nodded. Then you're not a stranger anymore, they said in unison. She climbed into her bed and stared at the ceiling. For the first time in her life, her fear wasn't louder than her heartbeat. And in the quiet house, deep in the woods, she finally closed her eyes and dreamed of a place she might belong. That night, the house felt different. The wind outside had changed. It didn't howl. It whispered. The trees didn't creak, they breathed. Even the fire crackled softer, as if trying not to wake something that slept deep beneath the walls. The alien girl tossed and turned in her bed. Then, the dream came. It started with chains, cold iron wrapped around her wrists again, tight and burning. She was in the mines, deep underground, back in the tunnels where screams were swallowed by stone. Her body was weak, her hands bleeding. Overseers shouted, whips cracked. She saw her younger self, small, scared, begging for water. Then the scene shifted. She was in the woods again, but this time the trees were on fire. The house stood ahead, burning, black smoke rising into a blood-red sky. The twins were crying. The man stood frozen at the doorway, reaching toward her. "Don't leave us," he said. She turned to run, but her feet sank into ash. Her voice cracked as she screamed. She couldn't move. She couldn't breathe. She woke up, gasping, sweating, heart pounding. She sat up quickly, clutching her chest. Her breath came fast. The blanket felt like chains again. Then a hand touched her arm. The twin girls were beside her. "We heard you," one whispered. "You cried in your sleep," said the other. The alien girl tried to speak, but her voice trembled. "I saw the mines and fire and all of you gone." "You're safe now," one twin said. "No one will hurt you here," the other added. The girl looked at them. "How do you know?" The twins looked at each other, then back at her. "Because we dream too," they said together. The alien girl didn't ask what they meant. She didn't want to know what nightmares haunted these strange, glowing-eyed children. She stepped outside to breathe. The forest was quiet. The moon hung low, shining through the trees like a watchful ease. The night was colder than before, and yet the air felt alive. Then she saw him, the man. He was sitting on a stone near the riverbank, looking at the stars. His shoulders were broad, his back straight, but something about him looked tired, like the weight of years was pressing against his spine. She walked slowly toward him. "You don't sleep much either," she said softly. He didn't turn. "Old soldiers sleep light." She sat beside him, wrapping her arms around her knees. "I saw fire, chains, you, the girls crying." He nodded. "Dreams are what pain leaves behind." "I don't want to feel like this forever," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "You won't," he said, "but it takes time." She glanced at him. "Why do the girls call me a bride?" His jaw clenched. "They believe things I can't explain." "They're not normal, are they?" "No," he said quietly, "but they are mine, and I love them more than life itself." The girl looked up at the stars. "I never had a father," she said. Silence fell between them. Then, after a long moment, he said something she didn't expect. "You're not their bride." She turned to him. "But they brought you here for a reason," he continued. "And maybe I was wrong to let you stay." Her heart sank. "You want me to leave?" she asked. He stood slowly. "I want you to decide," he said. "Stay if you wish. Leave if you must. But know this. This place is not what it seems." Then he walked away, disappearing into the trees. She sat alone under the moonlight. Her hands trembled again, but not from fear. From a strange feeling that this house, this forest, this family held more than just shelter. It held secrets, and maybe, just maybe, something meant for her. The next morning, the alien girl woke up before the sun. The dream still clung to her skin like sweat, but it was fading. Something else pulled at her now, curiosity. The twins were not normal. Their eyes always seemed too deep. They moved without sound. They never blinked at strange things, never asked childish questions. They were kind, but strange. And when they spoke in unison, it made the girl's bones feel cold. She had to know. The man was already gone, out in the woods again. The twins were still asleep, curled beside each other like mirror reflections. The alien girl stepped softly across the floor and slipped out the front door. She needed answers. And she'd start with the place no one ever talked about, the shed behind the house. It stood by itself, covered in vines, quiet and forgotten. The lock on the door was rusty. She stared at it, heart pounding, then took a deep breath and pushed it open. The hinges groaned. Inside, it was dark. Dust floated in the air, old blankets, boxes, broken toys. But one thing stood out, a table in the center, and on it, 2 glass jars. Each one had something inside. Her hands trembled as she stepped closer. Inside the first jar floated a tiny glowing crystal. The second held something even stranger, what looked like a small silver orb pulsing with soft light. Both were marked with strange alien symbols, symbols she remembered, from the mines, from the walls where they kept the failed ones. She reached out, then froze, a voice behind her. "You shouldn't be in here," said one twin. The other stepped beside her. "That room is locked for a reason." The alien girl turned slowly. "What are these?" Silence. Then one of the twins looked down. "Memories," the other whispered. "Pieces of who we used to be." The girl frowned. "I don't understand." They sat down on the cold floor. "We weren't born like normal CT. Hildren," one said. "We were made," said the other. The alien girl's heart raced. "Made? How?" The twins looked at her, their golden eyes glowing faintly in the darkness. "Our father found us," one said. "We were broken, lost, not supposed to live. But he took us home," the other continued. "He gave us names, a life, a family." The girl stepped back. "Are you machines?" "No," one said. "Not anymore. We were something else. Now we are something in between," said the other. The girl sat down slowly, her head spun. "That's why you don't sleep like children. That's why your voices sometimes speak as one," they finished together. They reached out and held her hands. "We know you feel like you don't belong," one said. "But that doesn't mean you don't matter," the other said. The alien girl looked at the jars again. "Do you still have pain?" They nodded. "Every day." She touched one of the jars gently. "I thought I was the only one who was broken," she whispered. One of the twins smiled softly. "Broken doesn't mean worthless." The other added, "It means you survived." Tears filled the alien girl's eyes. She didn't know what they were, clones, constructs, something else, but they were real, and more alive than most she had met. She hugged them both tightly. For the first time, she didn't feel like a guest. She felt like she belonged. That evening, the sky turned red as the sun dipped behind the trees, painting the forest in fire-colored light. The alien girl sat alone on the front steps of the house. The twins were inside playing quietly, but she wasn't listening to their laughter now. Her thoughts were on the man. He had taken her in without a word, protected her, fed her, but never truly opened up. She still didn't know his name, or what he had been before this quiet life. That needed to change. So when she saw him return through the trees, a hunting bag over his shoulder and a quiet look on his face, she stood up and stepped forward. "Can we talk?" she asked. He paused, then nodded. They sat by the fire in the basement, same place as before. He poured warm tea into 2 metal cups, placed one in front of her, and waited. She didn't speak softly this time. "Who were you before the war ended?" she asked. He stared into the fire, his jaw tense. "I was a monster," he finally said. She blinked. "You saved me. You saved the twins. That doesn't sound like a monster." He shook his head. "I didn't always save. I followed orders. Human soldiers were told aliens couldn't be trusted, so we burned villages, cleared out colonies. I did things I never speak of, things that haunt my sleep." She looked down. "I know what that feels like," she said. "I doubt it," he replied. She looked at him again, and this time her voice was steady. "I was forced to dig tunnels where children died every day. I had to cover them with stones so the overseers wouldn't punish me too. I ate things that weren't food. I prayed someone would just end it." The man's hands shook as he held the cup. "I found 2 glowing pods," he said after a long pause, "in a lab, long after the war. The scientists had left. The place was falling apart. I heard crying, but there were no children." He glanced toward the ceiling. Assay where the twins were above. I opened the stasis tubes. I found them. Two bioengineered girls. Not quite human, not quite alien. Created to study hybrid evolution. Left behind when the lab was shut down. Why didn't you turn them in? She asked. I was supposed to, he said. The order was clear. Bring them in. Let the lab study them again, but I couldn't. His voice broke for the first time. They looked at me the way my wife once did, with trust. I couldn't hand that over. So you ran? She asked gently. He nodded. Built this house in a hidden zone. Taught them to live, to laugh. But I know they'll never be safe. That's why I've trained them, even if I hide it behind games and chores. She stared into the fire. And me? She whispered. Why did you let me stay? He didn't answer right away. Then he said, because you looked like someone who had no one left, and I remember what that felt like. Her eyes glistened. You've changed, she told him. Maybe, he said. But I still have shadows in me. I don't deserve peace. You gave it to me, she replied. He looked at her finally, with tired but grateful eyes. And for the first time since she had arrived, he smiled. It wasn't big. It wasn't perfect. But it was real. The forest was quiet again, but this time, the silence wasn't peaceful. It felt like the breath before a scream. The alien girl stood outside the house, gripping the edge of her cloak. The man had gone to gather supplies from a hidden human trader nearby. The twins waved goodbye, but she didn't smile back. She felt something pulling at her chest. A heavy choice. Inside, the girls were drawing on the wooden floor with chalk, giggling and singing a soft tune only they seemed to know. A strange melody, beautiful but sad. The girl walked past them toward the back room. There, on a shelf, sat her old slave tag. She had taken it off the first day she arrived. Now she picked it up again. It felt colder than she remembered. I don't belong here, she whispered. The twins stood behind her. You're not leaving, are you? One asked, voice suddenly small. You can't, the other said, eyes wide. We chose you. The alien girl turned slowly. You brought me here. You were kind. You gave me food. But I was never supposed to stay. I'm broken, and I don't want to break your family too. You won't, they said together. She shook her head. Your father is healing. You two are strange but whole. And me? I still dream of chains. I still wake up scared. What kind of bride would I be? One twin stepped forward, a real one. The other said, someone who understands what it means to be alone. The girl's eyes filled with tears. I was never going to say yes, she whispered. Not really. Then why does it hurt so much to go? One asked. Why are your hands shaking? The other added. She looked down. They were right. She was trembling. I'm afraid, she admitted. Then stay, they begged softly. But before she could answer, the front door slammed open. The man stumbled in, bleeding from his arm, cloak torn. They ran to him, helping him sit. What happened? The girl asked, panic rising. Scouts, he growled. Government kind, close. They were following tracks, not mine, yours. She froze. No one's supposed to know I'm here, she whispered. They followed your scent from the village. I told you this house is hidden, but not invisible. The twins clung to his sides. The man looked up, pain in his eyes. You have to go. No, the twins cried. But the girl stood still, heart pounding. I was just about to, she said softly. No, the man said firmly. Not because you think you don't belong, but because if you stay, they'll take you, and maybe take us all. She looked at him. Then come with me. He shook his head. They know me. My face is burned into their records. I'm a deserter. If I'm caught, you'll be treated as a traitor too. She stepped back, tears falling. So I leave alone? He nodded. For now. The twins cried, holding her tightly. Please come back, one begged. Promise you'll return, the other whispered. She couldn't promise that. but she nodded anyway, and that was enough. She packed little, just the cloak, some food, and the old tag, now hidden deep in her pocket. When she turned to the door, the man spoke. "Don't let what was done to you decide what you become," he said. "You're more than that." She left as the sun set behind her. Every step felt heavier than the last. But this wasn't the end. It was a beginning she didn't ask for, but now had no choice but to walk. She didn't know how far she had walked. The alien girl's boots, borrowed from the house, were now worn and muddy. Her hood was pulled over her head to hide her face. Her cloak, once clean, was torn by brambles and wind. She had no map, no plan, only a direction, away from the man, the twins, and the danger she had brought. But her heart refused to walk with her. It stayed behind, with them. She found shelter in an old cargo station, half buried under vines. No one lived there now, just rusted tools, broken lights, and silence. She curled up near an old power core that gave off faint warmth and tried to sleep, but her dreams wouldn't let her rest. She saw the man again, bleeding. She saw the twins crying out her name. She saw her younger self, chained, beaten, forgotten. She woke up choking back a scream. She sat there until dawn, eyes wide open. That morning, she made a decision. She would stop running. She would stop being afraid of herself. She returned. 3 days later, exhausted, dirty, hungry, but determined. The house in the woods stood as she remembered it, quiet, strong, alive. She stepped inside. The twins screamed with joy, throwing their arms around her. The man stood silently, arms crossed, but his eyes shimmered with relief. "I thought I told you to run," he said. "I did," she replied, "but I didn't like who I was out there." The twins pulled her toward the fire. "We knew you'd come back. You made your choice," said the man. "Yes," she said, looking straight at him, "but not because I was asked, because I want to." He didn't speak. "I'm not here to be your prisoner," she continued. "I'm not a broken slave. I'm not your charity case." "I never thought that," he said softly. She took a deep breath. "Then hear me now. If I'm to stay, it has to be as someone who belongs, not out of pity, not because I'm a need." The room went queue, and then the man spoke, slow and calm. "I never wanted a bride," he admitted. "I never asked for one, but my daughters are wiser than us both," she said, smiling faintly. He looked at her for a long time. "You want to stay?" he asked. She nodded. "Not because I have nowhere else to go, but because I finally understand what home feels like." The twins danced around them. "She said yes! She said yes!" But she held up a hand. "There's something I must do first." They all watched as she walked outside. Near the river, she dug a hole with her hands. She pulled the old slave tag from her pocket and buried it. When she returned, her hands were dirty, her eyes full of tears, but her face calm. "I buried the past," she said. "Good," the man said. "Now you can help build the future." He extended his hand, not to control her, not to save her, but to walk beside her. She took it, not as a servant, not as a guest, but as a choice. And in that moment, the twins giggled louder than ever. The house seemed to glow from within, and somewhere deep in the forest, the past finally let go. Spring came early that year. The trees around the house bloomed with soft pink flowers. Birds returned, singing new songs. The forest, once cold and silent, now felt alive, like it had waited for this moment too. Inside the wooden house, laughter filled the air. Real laughter. The alien girl, no longer afraid, no longer hollow, was helping the twins braid flower crowns. The fire crackled in the hearth, warming their feet. The smell of soup and fresh bread danced through the room. She had been there for many weeks now, but every day still felt like a gift. The man, now without bandages, had begun speaking more, Not a lot, but enough. He shared stories. He fixed things with her. Sometimes he even let himself smile. He never called her bride. She never called him husband. They were something else, something not yet named, but strong, real, and growing. That morning, while the twins played outside, she found him in the basement, repairing one of the old energy cores. She sat beside him quietly. He looked at her with a question in his eyes. "I don't want the old word," she said. "Bride?" he asked. She nodded. "That word was forced on too many like me. I want something new." He set his tools down. "What do you want to be?" She thought for a long time. Then she said, "Part of your home, part of your family, chosen, not owed." He didn't answer with words. He simply placed his hand over hers and squeezed gently. That was enough. Later that day, they built something together, a wooden marker placed beside the river. It had no name on it, just a single carved symbol. Hope. At night, the family sat around the fire. The twins curled up on either side of the alien girl, one humming a soft tune, the other holding her hand. "I had a dream last night," one twin said. "You were flying," the other giggled. "With wings." The girl smiled. "Maybe someday." The man poured tea into small wooden cups and passed them around. "You changed this place," he said quietly. "No," she replied. "This place changed me." They sat in silence, the good kind, the kind where hearts speak without words. Then the twins spoke together, voices soft and bright. "You're our mom now." The girl blinked. Tears filled her eyes. She hadn't expected it, hadn't asked for it, but the words wrapped around her heart like a warm blanket. She looked at the man, unsure. He nodded once. She turned back to the twins, smiling through tears. "Then I'll be the best mom I can be." That night, she didn't dream of chains, or mines, or fire. She dreamed of the little house in the woods, of laughter, of wildflowers, of family. And in her dream, she was no longer the broken girl wandering alone. She was a light in someone else's dark, just as they had been for her.